You're listening to Convenience Matters, brought to you by NACS. Whether it's for food, fuel, drinks, or snacks, about half the U.S. population shops at a convenience store every day. We'll talk about what we see at stores and what the future may hold for our industry.
Welcome to Convenience Matters. My name is Jeff Lenard, and I'm with NACS.
And I'm Carolyn Schnare, also with NACS.
And Carolyn, we're also live. We are doing Convenience Matters Live here from the NACS Show Part 2.
Gotta prove it. Tell us we're here.
We're talking about a 2,500-mile road trip. Two folks went for 6 days, visited 20-some stores. We heard about all the great places they visited, the what. This episode, we're going to dive into the so what.
So, we were talking a little bit about this. Tell me, what really makes a convenience store stand out in your mind? We're talking about, we talked in the previous episode about bathrooms and food, but I'm wondering, is it people? Is it what are the things, or is it signage? What are the things that catch your eye when you're on a road trip, driving across the country, 2,500 miles, as you just did, and you can follow you guys on hashtag NACS Road Trip. What stands out to you? What's something that you take home and you remember about that store?
Well, I think it really just comes down to the overall customer experience. And in fact, I was just talking about this in an earlier education session today. It's just, convenience retail is at an interesting time where everyone's trying to get smaller. Everyone wants to compete at the last mile. Amazon, and coming out that Amazon may be opening 3,000 physical retail locations. You have big box going small format. Everyone sees the opportunity here in this industry, and they're coming for convenience. So customers have choices. They don't have to go to dirty, boring, or unexceptional. And places that consistently succeed at a high-quality customer experience, they're well-positioned to win. And that's really, I think, what we encountered on our road trip. We were showing the outliers on the best. Who's doing the best with customer service, food, operations, and we saw great examples of all of that.
Oh, no doubt. And to me, there's a lot of things that draw you into a store. I mean, a lot of times we stopped at a place called The Thumb in Scottsdale, Arizona. Beautiful store.
The Thumb?
The Thumb.
Thumbs up?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up?
Total thumbs up.
Great experience there. Beautiful store. Very upscale. And great food and great people working in the store. There's a lot of stores that really stand out as far as, you see them, you want to go in. But we also stopped at some stores that, I always judge, kind of by my wife, don't go in there. But I always go in because you never know what you're going to find in some stores that are not as glitzy, not as pretty. And we started off the trip in a couple of stores that were not very flashy, not very upscale, but had really good product and really good people. And I think College Station Mud Bugs, which is an older store, it's been there for a long time, and it's the food is amazing. Frank tried samples of stuff he had never tried before. He ate boudin, which is a Cajun thing.
Oh, tell us more about boudin after that. What is that again?
Boudin is really interesting. If you call it sausage, you might get socked, but it kind of looks like sausage. It's actually a rice dressing, which is rice, highly seasoned meat. Originally, it had more what I call exotic meats in it, though you really don't find that anymore. But it's such a Cajun thing, and they just shoot this into a sausage casing. So instead of having to eat rice and meat with a spoon, you can just eat it like sausage. And everybody does it. And what was interesting about this particular place, the boudin market, it just sounds so weird to say this, but the boudin market in Louisiana is it's full. And to get into that market right now, I thought was kind of a bold move for this guy. So he's just started doing it, a really great product, but he's got this huge menu, everything from rabbit and gravy, which you don't find very often, to chicken fried steak. He barbecues open pit every day, but just meets all the marks when it comes to food. And he's got a great staff in there who are very proud of their food, very proud of what they do, and it makes it an experience. So
I didn't even think about this, but when you talk about going on the road trip, and we'll talk a little bit about how road trips or things like that can benefit your business, but how did you sell this at home when it's like, well, honey, when are we going on vacation again? It's like, well, I can't, honey, I'm going on vacation. I'm going to drink wheatgrass for that guy again. How do you sell it before you even leave the driveway?
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say it was easy for me. My girlfriend thought it was cool, but I don't know about Al.
Well, my wife's always happy to get rid of me. I've been on the road as an independent producer for a long time, so it was just, saying goodbye. I was a little disturbed at how easy it was for me to leave work for 2 weeks. I'm thinking, oh my God, when I come back, they'll find out they don't really need me. But I think everybody gets into it. Everybody says it's a cool thing. Because, I've been at meetings before where someone would say, well, I would never go into a gas station and eat. But when I talk about this, everybody says, oh man, this is the coolest thing. You're going to eat in gas stations for 2 weeks or for a week. And it was great. So it was an easy sell at home. And really people that knew about it really embraced it, and that was pretty cool.
And one thing, we talked a lot about food, and we talked about people that have passion. They're cooks. They do all these amazing things, or they learned how to cook. We haven't talked about packaged items, items that are much easier to sell because they aren't as perishable. How did you look at stores when you went in there? Beyond all the great freshly prepared food, did you go down certain aisles, look at certain things? Did certain things jump out at you, whether it was a unique drink or a unique snack along the way?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is, look, there's a lot of retailers in this industry that have undifferentiated products that are largely interchangeable with the guy across the road. And, kind of in a similar token, if any of you are cyclists, you've probably heard of RAGBRAI. It's an annual ride across the state of Iowa. I did that this year and went to, of course, all the gas stations along the way, a lot of small town convenience stores. And I kind of saw a lot of retailers there where everything was the same. There was no reason to go there except for impulse or I need it right now.
It was a right-hand turn.
Yeah, they were not destinations. But I think we saw a lot of stations on this road trip that are absolute destinations. And you can tell on the packaged goods, they've really put a lot of thought into that. Who is their customer and what specifically do they want? They may not want a cereal bar. They may want something else. Or maybe they do want the cereal bar, but not the other thing. But they're not just putting a blank, bland, end cap with boring products that they can get at the guy across the road. I'd say a good example, a friend of mine, Lonnie McQuarter, owns a store in Minneapolis, 36 Lynn. He's a good example of someone who does this really well. His customers want local products. That's what he has at his store. And we saw examples like that on this trip. In fact, you mentioned the Thumb. The Thumb had, I don't know where they find this stuff, but they're going online, probably to Etsy and other places, and finding really cool stuff to sell in the store. I bought a pin holder. It's a metal microphone with the top cut out to put my pins in. I've never seen that before.
That sounds like a good thing we should get for Convenience Matters.
Yeah, send us a bill.
Well, they did have one more. So.
And in some of the stores in Texas, we went to one store called Prosix, and we found Prosix products in another C store. So they were packaging their stuff and selling it to other C stores. I know Slovacic's over in West. They make tons of sausage, tons of jerky, and I know they're selling it out there. So I mean, you can find the prepackaged items, but sometimes the prepackaged items are kind of local, and that makes it neat.
You guys have both been on the news. You both write. You communicate very well about our industry, and one of the things we talked about is this segment's about so what. So we aren't suggesting everybody take a 2,500-mile road trip or even a 100-mile road trip. But what are ways that you can cut through the clutter and a store may be able to create an event, create an experience? What do people look for in the news that you said certain words and it's like, we'll be there or we're interested? We'll start with you, Al.
Well, I work in the news business, and there's so much clutter. There is so much clutter out there, and so often people want attention. But where I live, Louisiana, Deep South, Cajun country, people talk about food, and people get into passionate discussions about food. Boudin is another good example. I mean, people will get in fist fights over this boudin or that boudin's crazy. But and as far as creating events, you run into people who sometimes they'll have a musician just show up in the store and play music. Sometimes they'll have a band. Sometimes places go all out for Halloween. They do Halloween parties there. At Dale's place over in Alabama, they did this thing where they would bring all the kids in for, what's the name of that movie? Polar Express, huge event. The community comes out for this thing. The kids get to see the movie. They get to sit in, and the parents get to sit in the dining room, probably buying food. And so they create this huge holiday event. So, all you got to do is think a little outside the box, and you're going to get people in the store that might not ordinarily come in the store, And so I think you got to look at your market and see what's going to fit with your market. And sometimes it's as simple as having a fiddle player there.
So who do you call?
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I know.
Well, it's tough to get the attention of the media, except on a weekend, which weekends are usually slow news days. So if you've got something going on the weekend, a lot of times you call your local news station, send out a press release, send them a letter, call someone, call a producer. Producers are usually pretty easy to talk to because they're always looking for content because, you're going, oh my God, we got news at 6 and, we have nothing. So you call those people, they're liable to listen to you and come out. Also, small local newspapers, always looking for content.
Yeah, those Free Thursday ones, they are always looking. They will run the pictures you send them.
Yeah.
They will run every word you send them because they are desperate for content, and that's really the one everybody reads.
And I'll give you a little plug too. So convenience.org, on our refresh page, you can find a PR toolkit, which will help you create those press releases. Jeff wrote it. It'll just help you how to get that message out, what you're doing, and which then leads me to another question, like online. I know Frank, you're big on this. When you're driving and you're like, oh, I got to eat, I got to find something. You pull up, Google Maps or whatever you're using. Do stores with a social media presence, whether it's on social media or Google Maps or Yelp or whatever, do those stand out more to you?
Yeah, well, one of the challenges this industry has is we're really lagging behind an online presence, and we'll get there. But right now, it's a little bit behind the curve. And a big issue is with listings management. Like, if people can't find you online, they're just going to wonder if you're in business, or they may not even know that you exist. People search for stores differently today than they used to. They get on Google Maps, they get on mobile apps, and they look for the best station. They're going to look at things like the number of ratings you have, the quality of the ratings. Those are quality signals that say, should I stop here or should I not? If you've got one review and it was from 2 years ago, no one's going to be impressed by that. They're not going to want to go. But in fact, that's how we found one of our stores. It is a place that had a auto museum inside, and it stood out to me because I saw there were over 20. Yeah, Russell's.
North New Mexico.
But there were over 2,500 reviews on there with I want to say about a 4.6 out of 5 average. That's a quality signal. But you got to remember that listings management is different from social media. Now, social media is a great way to connect with your customers. Great example, just go online and look at what Sheets does on Twitter. Look at what Quick Trip, actually both Quick Trips, QT and KT, do on social media. These companies let their brand personality shine through. They connect and engage with their customers. If someone says, and someone did say this, I think, about Quick Trip with a K, they said, how I look for a girlfriend, does she like Quick Trip food? They're trying to be funny. Well, instead of just leaving that there, they retweet that, they leave a snarky comment, they have fun with it. And if you're a customer and your favorite brand does that, you feel really good. You want to go back. It builds a relationship in a way that price alone simply cannot.
The other thing that helps is most people don't think about reviewing gas stations, convenience stores. They're in and out in 3 minutes. It probably takes more than that to do a review, so why bother? I don't have time. Farm to Counter in Springfield, what they do is they just have a sign, $1 off if you do a Google review. Doesn't say good review, it just says review. So tell people that you want reviews. So that also, I think, can help spread the word.
Yeah, and that was brilliant, by the way. It's a great way just to get it started. And, maybe he's not going to do that forever, but, I pulled it up on there, and there's a lot of great reviews.
And if most of you, I assume most people in here have a store. If you have a daily lunch special and you're not posting it on Facebook, you're really missing out. This tiny store we went into in Eunice, Louisiana, every single day, he prints out his menu, takes a picture of it, puts it on Facebook. So every single day, when people go to work and they start talking about lunch right after they get it at work, they know they can go to this guy's Facebook page and they know what he's got every day. And as Frank said, I'll be looking for C-stores, and a lot of times I'll see someone hadn't posted in 6 months. I'll go, oh, well, they must be closed. So always remember, every day something happens in your store. Every single day something happens that you should post on Facebook. Could be an employee's birthday. Maybe someone graduates from high school. Maybe one of your employees has a child that's graduated from high school. But every single day something happens in your store that needs to be posted on Facebook. Keep your Facebook page living, because people will think you're dead if you don't post.
Yeah, but
really critical.
But I think the real point is that you should assume at this point that everyone who enters your store has a smartphone in their pocket. You have to connect with customers where they're at, and brands that don't engage in that space are missing a serious opportunity to connect with consumers and build that loyalty.
You went to Latitudes in New Mexico, and that's New Mexico, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And that's another place where if you like them on Facebook, they give you a 2-hour head start on their gas price changes. So it's not like buy stuff from us. We'll educate you. We'll tell you what's going on in the market. And Carolyn, there's a restaurant right down the street from us where we work, where you go on Facebook and they have a secret word. You say the secret word, you get a free side with your sandwich.
Yeah, Jeff and I are usually sitting out front like, pull up the page, pull up the page, pull up the page.
Yes, bring your phone.
What's the word?
One of the other things we saw on the road were C-stores that had lounge areas, which I thought was really cool. Latitudes has a beautiful lounge area. Mm-hmm. The Thumb had one. I don't know if this is a trend. If you've got the space, it's a really good thing.
Well, one thing I want to mention on that, and it's interesting because we all know the industry is pushing so hard into food service, but there's a lot of mistakes that are being made that are real rookie mistakes. I mean, I don't know if anyone's worked in a restaurant before. I have. You definitely learn there's just a way to do things in food service, and it's a little different from a retail mindset. But one mistake I've seen a lot is companies will invest a lot of money in really nice indoor seating. I mean, indoor seating that's better than what your local coffee shops have. But then they don't wipe the tables down. And it drives me crazy as someone who's worked in a restaurant, because I'm thinking, is there a spray bottle? Like, I'll just do it for you. It'll take me 15 seconds. But this is a simple, cheap mistake that costs big, because imagine a van with a family rolls in. They see that there's this new food service inside. They're excited and they try it out, only to find that the table looks like a disaster. They're just going to think it's just gas station food, and they're not going to give it a fair shot. So, we saw a lot of great lounges, though.
We did.
I was very impressed with what we saw because, especially when we went in Quick Check, which I guess they didn't have a lounge, but what I was impressed with them is they hired people who knew food service. And we really got the sense when we talked to them about this that they were in the food service game, and that's what they were playing. And
they made you feel good. I interviewed a guy in Florida a few years ago, and I never forget what he told me. He said, someone might leave home and they're not crazy about their spouse. They're going to a job they may not like, a boss they may not like, but they stop in your store, and the first smile of the day, and maybe even the last smile of the day, may come from one of your employees. And a lot of times, your regular customers feel valued when they go into your store. And that's where your employees come into play. That's where you come into play. I always feel kind of honored if an owner comes out and says, "Hey, how was it?" I mean, it makes me feel good that the owner cared enough to come and ask. So if you own the store, if you manage the store, you can't underestimate the value. And you as a manager and owner going to every table or every customer and saying, how are things going? Or just standing by the register and greeting customers. It makes a difference because it's a crazy world. We live in a digital world. Everybody's got cell phones. Everybody's looking at a screen. And so the first and maybe even the last human contact somebody has in a day might be at your store, and there's value in that.
So that music says it's time for questions. Anybody in the audience have questions? Now, those of you listening to the podcast, don't shout at us. We can't hear you. But if anybody in the audience has questions, we'll get a mic to you and we'll throw out questions. If not, Carolyn and I do have more. Or O'Donovan, you have one.
Jeff, I do have a question, and that is this. If you owned one store, you don't have multi-stores, you're one store, what is one thing you could take away from this session that could actually implement tomorrow? To either Frank or Al, yes.
Oh, well, I think the biggest thing I would take away is you have to differentiate yourself. Guys, there's 155,000 convenience stores in the United States, and you're not just competing with them, you're competing with the dollar stores, the QSRs, the grocery stores, the small format big box, GoPuff. I mean, I can literally just keep going on and on about this. There is a war for convenience. You have to stand out. If you blend in and you have interchangeable products, it's just not a good place to be right now. That's all I'll say about that. And as far as cost-effective implementation, man, having your customers in a very real way, having your employees in a very real way engage with those customers. Make an experience, make each customer feel like, thank God you're here. You're here, you're helping us start our day. And that's free. It just takes a little talking to the customers, because that can make such a difference. Because if everything's the same with you and your competitor, perhaps, that feeling of, oh, wow, you're home makes a difference with customers.
I'm Christine Lavelle with Winsight. And you said some great things about some of the small chains that you went to. What unusual or exciting did you find at some of the larger chains? Did you stop at some?
Yeah, we did. In fact, I work a lot with the larger chains, but I'm going to leave this one to you, Al, because you focus more on independence.
I did. I got to tell you, I was very impressed with Quick Check.
And that's
Texas?
Misspelled KWIK,
Right, yeah.
misspelled CHEK.
What they did in there, I'm always a little, soft on going. I mean, I know we go into those places. Frank works with more of those. But I thought Quick Check was great in that everybody behind the counter engaged me. They made eye contact with me. They chatted. The lady doing the food said, you got this. You should really try this El Jefe burrito. You're going to like that. And I liked it. They engaged. The guy at the register was smiling, and everybody made eye contact. And I thought that was a really great thing in this chain store. The other thing I think they did really well is they were cooking everything right. You could see them cook. It was right there at the counter, so you knew it was fresh. So I thought that was really impressive for a chain.
And one thing I really want to add on that, are there any Frasier fans in the room? I mean, the show is awesome, right? Well, I always like to bring this up because, Frasier and Niles didn't go to the coffee shop 24/7 in every episode because the coffee was good. They went there because it was their place. If you operate a store, you want to create that kind of feeling that your customers can say, that's my place, that's where I go. And I'll be honest, I felt like that from Quick Check. It just felt like somewhere where if I lived in that area, I could have said, yeah, that's my place right there.
Oh yeah, these great employees, so that's chains could learn something from this particular little chain.
So I guess my last question for you guys before we wrap up, you going to do it again?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah,
Al's a great travel companion.
He's an excellent driver, a really interesting young guy, and yeah, I would definitely do this again, in a heartbeat.
So you guys did your road trip, and you're from two different areas of America. How did you plot your course? Was it Google reviews? Was it Facebook reviews? What was the I know you, Frank, you were the one that was a plotter, you know what I mean? Al's like, woo, let's have fun.
Yeah.
I can eat anything, but Frank, how did you find those places to go?
Yeah, I'll tell exactly what I did. So the first thing I did is I started with Google Maps because you can make a custom map. It's just really easy to put everything there. But I started by going to the Gas Station Gourmet website, gasstationgourmet.com, because I knew we were going through part of the country that Al's done a lot of writing about, and I wanted to go to some of those stores. So I found some from there. Second thing is I'm always on Google News searching for a couple things. One, gas station food, because that's the terminology that local news reporters use, and also convenience retail. And that's actually how I found your store, because a local reporter went in and is like, oh my God, this is amazing, and then they write about it. That's how you find these stores. That's how they start getting talked about. So I've been saving those stores. I added them to our list. And then, I'll be honest, I got on Gas Buddy, Google Maps, all these different ways that you have to find stations, and I just went through the route and looked for quality signals, number of reviews, and the average rating. And then I would go on the station profile and look at the reviews and go from there, and found a few of the places. That's where we found them. So it was a little bit of work, but we planned out a great trip.
Yeah.
Well, and Al, you write for NACS magazine, so you've stopped it, or you've covered a lot of these places.
I have, and I was getting calls from folks who were going on vacation. Some people in here would call and say, hey, I'm going on vacation, where should I stop? So I started, I have a little map on my website, gasstationgourmet.com/map. So I started putting all the places I've written about and stopped in on the map. So it makes it easy to find. You just click on the knife and the fork, a little synopsis of the place comes up, you click on directions, it'll take you right there. So, that's been kind of a help, I think, for some people to find places to eat. And I just hope Americans will go inside these stores and find the great food and the great people.
So let me end with quick historical context. The internal combustion engine was invented in 1885 by Carl Benz. He didn't know what to do with it. He had it sitting around for 3 years, had this three-wheeled car. And then when he wasn't paying attention, his wife Bertha went on a road trip. 60 miles, came back, and it's like, whoa, we can do something with this. So history-making road trip in 1886, 1888. Hopefully we can make history next year and the year after. Thank you both, Al. Thank you, Frank, for joining us today.
Thank you for listening to Convenience Matters.
Convenience Matters is brought to you by NACS and produced in partnership with Human Factor. For more information, visit convenience.org.